And hello everyone, and welcome back one more time to Final Fantasy. I'm your host, Nicodemoscain, and we are doing the review, the very last review video, for Final Fantasy 1 for the Final Fantasy Origins Collection. I just came in here. This is the new game that, it's not a new game plus. I thought it was a new game plus. It would have been kind of cool if it was a new game plus. But it's actually just a, what are you going to call it? It's kind of just a continuation. It carries over all of your configuration data. It doesn't carry over your party. I reset my party. For anybody that's watched, I changed out the thief for the monk and the red mage for the white mage. I don't know why. I just decided to do that. I might play through it again just for fun somewhere along the line. I don't know. But the collections, that's what it is. Collections carry over. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get 100%. I said that what we were going to do is we were going to go through the collections just to let you have a look at it. But I missed several I missed several different enemies as I was going through, and I don't really feel like going through them, so I'm sorry. But I figured I'd go through these as I talk about the game and how much fun I had. And it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. Of course, this came out, what did I say? When did I say it came out? 2001, 2002. I did have this pulled up, and unfortunately I had to turn it off in order to record. So I'm going to pull it up on my phone. But this came out on the PS1 as the Final Fantasy Origins collection. It was part of Square's big redoing all of the old franchises. 2002. It came out Halloween 2002. Really? I did not know that. You learn something new every day. But it was coming up on the, I think it was the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy, and I know that they were redoing all of the old franchises, you know, or all of the old series, or all the old games. Oh, excuse me. They redid 1 and 2, and they redid 4 and 6. Or no, I think 4 and 6 were untouched, if I remember right. I know they did 5, or they upscaled 5, or they did something to 5. I don't know what the hell they did to it. Don't listen to me. Upscale, really? they redid. They put 5 and Chrono Trigger on a collection, and they put 4 and 6 out as well. But I don't think that was in a collection. I think they just put that out as their own games. But this, of course, was the remaster, I guess. It went from 8-bit to 16-bit. Let's put it that way. And it was amazing. I do remember playing the original Final Fantasy on my Nintendo way back in 1990. You know, the story, I've told the story a million times, that it was a game I got for Christmas. Didn't want it. I got Battletoads and Blaster Master and Final Fantasy. And I didn't want Final Fantasy. For whatever reason, I didn't want it. So I didn't play it. And it sat on my shelf for, I don't know, however long it sat on my shelf. And I finally decided to play it. And I loved it. I thought it was great, you know. And I made it all the way through that, as hard as it was. I did have the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide, the Final Fantasy Strategy Guide. Made my way through that. Loved it. Wound up getting, you know, Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 3, you know, which is 4 and 6. Love those, and I've been a Final Fantasy guy ever since. But this was a really great game in terms of how they redid everything. I mean, it looks like a 16-bit game, you know, straight up. It's amazing, you know, and I don't remember if they had the... Let me see if I can pull this up. I know, I'm so horrible. I'm flipping through these so you guys can see them. Where is... Because there was one... What was it? The... Piscademon Astos. Look at that asshole. Jeez. There was one that it took me forever to go back and get. I don't even know why I went back and get him. No, you could not throw the... Well, I guess you could throw the items. Oh. No, you couldn't equip the items in battle. I think that was part of the new thing that they did. Was being able to equip the items in battle. See, on this, though, it says there's fight, magic, drink, item, and run. So, I don't know. I'm looking at a screen from the original Final Fantasy. I was just trying to remember exactly what they did that changed it. Because I know they made a lot of little things here and there. Oh, they call it a re-release. There you go. Now you know it's a re-release. Sheesh. But it definitely looks amazing. I've seen videos of the original NES Final Fantasy, and the difference between the two is just absolutely amazing. There it is. Okra Jelly. That thing is so damn hard to find. Oh my goodness. But it, for what it is, it's definitely an amazing way to play it. And of course, you know, you don't have to have... Well, if you can find a Nintendo Mini Classic or Classic Mini, whatever the hell you want to call them, you know, they have it on that collection straight away. But if you don't have an NES, and if you don't have the actual cartridge, which I think the original NES Final Fantasies are now something like $35, $40 a piece. I still have my original, so I'm still good. Did I skip two or just one? Just one. Alright. But, you know, now that we got the Retron, I loaded mine up and I took a look at it and I said, man, you know, it is a difference. It is a definite difference between the two. And I will be going back and playing the original Final Fantasy eventually. That will be happening. But as far as the game itself, it's the classic Final Fantasy. You know, you run around, you take random battles, you have your options between magic and fighting and, you know, fleeing, whatever you want. I know there are several differences between dialogues, just even within Cornelia, the first city, between the NES version and this version. The friggin' fountain says something different. I made fun of the fact that the fountain in this version said, "Come put my water on your face." The original version says something like, "Yeah, clean your face up," you know, or something like that. It's like, really? That's, I mean, I don't know if that's a translation issue or not, but dude, that's one of those moments where you're like, holy crap, what the hell is going on here? But everything pretty much stayed true to how it was and the way it was. You know, all the enemies, I don't know if the stats for any of the enemies were changed at all. I know that overall the game itself felt easier, because I remember the original Final Fantasy felt like it was such a bear to play. As like every other fight, it just got harder and harder and harder. And at the time, I don't remember, you know, playing it, but I do remember distinctly how hard it was getting through that game. So I just have to wonder, why was that game so much harder than this game was? And I think they pulled the difficulty down a little bit. I know that this game had the easy mode and it has normal mode, and the normal mode isn't that hard. It really isn't. Even though I got up to level 50, and I did a lot of grinding in between videos when I wasn't recording. I did a ton of grinding, and that was mostly just because I had the free time to be able to sit here and just run around and just kill stuff. And I even said on the video that, you know, there's just something in my brain that allows me to just sit down and do it. You know, just sit down and go and not worry about it. And so I liked the grinding. You know, I loved running back and forth around inside of these dungeons and just doing fight after fight after fight, and it was alright, you know, I didn't mind it at all. So, you know, going into that last boss, going into Chaos, I was level 50, and I basically handed him his ass. So here's the final level bosses. That's Tiamat, the second Tiamat that you fight. Death Eye, and a purple worm, and that's the second Lich. And these guys only have 1,000 HP, and by the time I reach these guys, my warrior with the Massive Moon, he was hitting for 500 HP on the big bosses. So, you know, 4 hits and it's done. It's actually, you know, absolutely amazing. So I guess that first one was the first Tiamat. This is the second Tiamat. And then there's Chaos, you know, and it really wasn't that bad of a fight. There was one time where he threw I don't remember if it was a flare, if it was something else that he threw, that it was the only time I felt like I was going to die in that fight. And it wasn't bad at all. You know, it was what it was, and I got through it okay, you know. Alright, so that's the bestiary. Again, I'm missing 4%. I think there's like 6 or 7 monsters, which isn't the worst. It does affect the art gallery, though. I do have some pictures. I think I got 2 pictures in the art gallery missing. I don't remember. Of course, item collection. This is all the stuff that you can get in each temple, which wasn't so bad. But as far as you know, the graphics, again, 16-bit. It's what you would expect from a 16-bit Final Fantasy. You know, we've all seen 4 and 6, so you know what you're getting into there. I'll go down. Yeah. As far as music, they pretty much redid all the music. Nobuo Uematsu came back in, redid all the music. It's amazing. It doesn't have that same, you know, Nintendo Final Fantasy, you know, blips and bloops, which I'm so used to, you know, but it's still as broad and amazing for what you can get out of a, you know, late 90s, early 2000s synthesizer. You know, there's no orchestration in this at all. But it's still amazing, and you recognize all the songs, or you recognize all the music, you recognize all the themes. You know what everything is and where everything is. So they definitely improved on the music. And this is the art gallery. Now this is the place where I said there was the drawings. Let me hide this. It's all the art for all the different creatures, what they would look like before they actually went into the game. And this is the remastered artwork for all the enemies. This isn't just, you know, the artwork for the game whenever it came out on Nintendo. This is the actual new artwork, and of course that's the knight that they eventually used for the background for the new logo, which I love the new logos. I'm glad that they did it with the all white and just the Final Fantasy and the number and whatever it is. Now, I've actually heard several people say that they haven't liked that, and I was like, okay, well that's fine, you know. The old logos, from what I remember, were not pretty. They were. I know the logo for Final Fantasy II, if I remember right, it looked like it was some weirdo hand drawn. I don't know. Yeah, it didn't look right. But now they have a nice, crisp, clean uniform. You know, Final Fantasy logo that you can automatically know. Oh, yeah, that's Final Fantasy. Now that's nice. That's good stuff, man. See. And I don't know if this was... Oh, God. That's horrible. I don't know if this was a mono or not. That's another one of those things I should probably look up. But this was a nice little feature that they added in that... It's really nice. Look at that thing. Now, I didn't actually fight a Behemoth in this, did I? Not a Behemoth. A Behemoth. Shit. I didn't actually fight a behemoth in this, did I? But that is a behemoth. Now, we recognize that now as... it's a king behemoth, as far as I know, because a king behemoth has the wings on the back. But I don't think we actually ever fought one of these. That's still such an amazing shot. I love that shot. Might wind up using that for a background somewhere. There's the Gigas. Then, what were those? I don't remember what those were. Oh, there's the werewolves. Is that what that was? Is that a werewolf? Oh, I don't want to exit out. Cockatrice. Of course, the Lich. And I read somewhere that a lot of these were taken almost directly from Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know how true that is. Even though I know I know the style is definitely Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't know. I can't say with any certainty where most of these came from. The Mind Flayer. Again, if anybody's coming up with a heavy metal band, you need a name. Mind Flayer. When you get rich and famous, tell them I sent you. That's nice too. That I think actually was on... was that the Dragon Warrior? Oh my goodness. I think this might actually be the Dragon Warrior art. Or at least one of the Dragon Warrior arts. Because it looks very familiar. No, but it sure is close. I have seen this somewhere before. I probably wound up seeing it in a magazine somewhere or something. Because they used to reuse a lot of that art whenever they were doing articles about it, about the game. But what have I covered? I've covered graphics, the art, the game itself. Again, it plays exactly like you would think it would play. The only issue I had with it was that on the PlayStation, the controller, for whatever reason, well, of course the sticks don't work. That was one of the first things that that was a problem with it, is they didn't have the left and right joysticks working. So you had to use the D-pad, which is okay. That was fine. But I had a problem. There's those tiger things. I had more of a problem with if, for whatever reason, randomly, if you held that button down for even the slightest a second longer than it should have been, it would go way fast. I don't know how many times I would wind up selecting the wrong thing just because the D-pad wasn't working correctly. That was the only big issue I ever had with it. I never knew why. It was always just one of those random deals. That is ugly. Look at that. It's horrible. But that was really the only issue I ever had. Everything else, seemed to work just fine as it was. There was no problem with any glitches or any bugs that I ever saw. Everything worked about as well as it could. Now I wanted to stop here and say about the soldier that we saw in the last couple of dungeons. I didn't really understand what it was doing, what it was, because it looks so weird whenever it's actually in the game. But when you look at it here, it does not help. I think it's a little guy inside of a tank, like a walker tank. That's the only thing I can describe. It's like, the front might be the island you look at, or maybe the head is like a helmet or something. There's just like a little dude in there. I don't know. But that was the art that I was saying. Hopefully that we can find that, in the art, and we can figure out just exactly what the hell's going on with that. 'Cause it's just weird looking. Absolutely weird looking. And then, of course, there's Chaos. I think it goes back to the beginning. Oh no, look at there. There you go. Very nice. Yeah, it goes back to the beginning. But, all in all, I have to say that it's a hell of a game. You know, I took my time going through it, enjoying it as I went. Okay, that was a saber-tooth. And I didn't go too fast. I didn't go too slow. You know, it felt good, even though that I've heard that you know, guys can beat this game in 20-30 hours. You know, no sweat. Even though I took my time with it, and we took what was it, 40 hours, 50 hours, 41 hours, something like that. So, you know, it took a while for me to get through, but I mean, I was enjoying it. I had a good time doing it. I would definitely say for anybody that's... See, I'm missing a couple here, too. Oh my goodness, I'm missing a lot here. I wonder if you have to play through it a second time, maybe unlock that stuff. Huh. But I would definitely say for anybody that's never played it, definitely give this version a try. If you can't get a hold of the NES version. Moreover, because this version is a lot easier than the original, and I say that from experience. I can't really say for certain. When I play the old version, I will be able to tell you 100%. You know, oh yeah, that was a lot easier. But it felt easier. It felt like it was just an easier game. It felt like it was easier to play. So I don't know. But if I had to, without going off of the original version, if I had to grade this game by itself, on its own, by itself, I would say... Oh, man. Seven out of 10. I'm not going to do a half. I'd love to do 7.5, but it would be on the low 7 side. So 7. I would say a 7 out of 10. It's Final Fantasy. It's amazing, but there's no story. It's just a complete lack of story. And what story there is, it's convoluted and weird. The whole time travel thing that you go through at the very end, where you go 2,000 years in the past to fight the guy that was 2,000 years in the future, that gets sent to the past even after you kill him by the four feet. It doesn't make any sense. But this game didn't really need a story, you know. It's like 4 guys appear out of nowhere and they go resurrect the crystals, they go fight the bad guy, they win. There you go. End of discussion. But only because of that, and only because it's older. I mean, it's aged really well for what it is. It's aged really well, but because it's, you know, it's not some of the enemies, it's really hard to understand what the hell they're doing there, you know, and some of the tiny little graphical things that I see, you know, it just kind of pulled the score down a little bit. So I would say 7 out of 10 for what it is, standing on its own by itself. For being a sequel to, or for being a reimagining or a remake of the original Final Fantasy, I give it a 9 out of 10 because it's light years beyond it. But on its own by itself, 7 out of 10 Final Fantasy from the Final Fantasy Origins collection. Put it down in stone. I just graded Final Fantasy. Oh my god. Which I didn't. I have been thinking about it since I made that last episode, and I've been saying, man, I just don't know what I'm going to do with this. I really don't know. So yeah, that was my nostalgia trip down the memory lane of Final Fantasy. I thank you guys very much for coming along with me, sticking it out with me through thick and thin, through all the crap that I've had to put up with, for all the technical glitches and all the stupid little nonsense. We made it. We are better people because of it. The videos are getting better, I can tell you that much. And we're moving on, which I am so glad to say. I'm ready to go. Final Fantasy II. We're going to play Final Fantasy II on this collection. And I don't know too much about Final Fantasy II. I've played some of it. I may even have a save file somewhere. But I never beat it, so I don't know what I'm getting into. So hopefully, we shall see. We shall see what's going on. But I wanted to make this short, but unfortunately I'm making it as long as hell. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there, but there you go. Final Fantasy 1 from the Final Fantasy Origins collection on the PlayStation 1. You can find this collection if you really, really want to get it. I have seen these collections go for $10, $15 on eBay. It's on the PlayStation Store for PS3 for, I think it's $10. I don't even know. If you happen to be super rich and you really want to go find a original version for the NES, you know, you can go do that. Or if you happen to be super rich and you want to pay $120 for an NES Classic Mini, you can go do that too. It's about the only way you're going to get it at this point. But I would definitely say give us a try if you're into that kind of stuff. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, you should own this. No explanations needed on that. Other than that, though, I thank you guys very much for watching. I've been nicodemoscain. This has been Final Fantasy from the Final Fantasy Origins collection. This was my long-ass review. I'm just going to call it that, long-ass review. Like I said, standing on its own, 7 out of 10. It was good. The graphics were a little bit wonky, but it plays great. It feels like a Final Fantasy. Everything's there that you would want it to be. The story is bleh, but the music is amazing. So, what else can I say? But thanks again for coming around, checking it out. Stick around for Final Fantasy II. We are going to be playing that and having a ball. So, until then, I wish you all well on all your future endeavors, and I hope that the world lasts for you. Take care.